Ladies all around the world, listen up. We're looking for you. The time has come to be unstoppable together. The danger of executive women is worrying we're not enough, obsessed with perfection, failing to perform. You're in the right place. It's now time to be unstoppable together with Connie Fife. She was the director of the United States Chamber of Commerce and CEO of the Girl Scouts. Sit down, squat down, or lie down. It's time for Up or Out, all business with Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva and chair of the Fife Group, helping women in leadership achieve excellence and be unstoppable together.
Hi, it's Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva, and I am over the top excited to introduce to you our guest for today, who is Mike Sherbakov. And Mike is an entrepreneur, a philanthropist, an adventurer who is passionate about creating a better world. And he's the founder of the Greatness Foundation, which is a global nonprofit which is focused on optimizing human potential. And he's also the CEO of the Greatness Media. So he walks and chews gum at the same time. Let's just put that out there. With the Greatness Media, it's a digital agency for the purpose of driven brands. And if you don't know what that means, I'm going to tell you, because Mike works closely with brands like Fitbit, lululemon, athletica, Equinox. He's also a former active duty U.S. Marine. He's traveled to 52 countries and continues. And he believes strongly that our greatness is not what we have, but what we give. And I totally agree with that, Mike, every step of the way. So I just want to jump in because I want you to share the Greatness Foundation, but the greatness itself and your mission of be more, do more, give more.
Yeah. Well, Connie, thanks so much for having me. I'm grateful to be here. So yeah, let's dive in. What do you want to cover?
I mean, you come up with the greatness. I guess, how did you come to say, I am going to create a foundation and all around greatness of the individual?
Yeah, well, great question. You know, when I look back and start to look at certain events and experiences in my life, I'm able to connect the dots and see how it all makes sense. So I joined the Marines right out of high school. I was on active duty for 5 years. And one thing you learn very quickly in the Marines is when you think you're ready to quit, when you feel like you've reached the edge of your potential, you're actually just getting started. And so here I am, 18 years old and starting to explore physically and mentally boundaries way beyond what I ever thought that I could do.
Right.
And so all of a sudden, I've always been very curious. And I start thinking, okay, if this relates physically and mentally, can it also relate to us emotionally, spiritually, and in how we give? And so it's always this idea, you know, and so I get out of the Marines and my undergraduate degrees were in kinesiology and psychology.
Okay.
And so I really wanted to understand why we do the things we do and why we kind of place these limits on ourselves. And what if we pushed beyond those limits? What if we never created limits in the first place and just kept asking ourselves of what else and what more could I be doing? And so really the ideas for the Greatness Foundation were born a long time ago, but now we're able to just, you know, put it into 3 basic steps of being more, which starts with this internal landscape, right? It starts with mindset, then doing more and putting it into action, right? How much better can we show up as you know, for me as a father, as a son, as a philanthropist, as what I'm here to do with my lifetime, and ultimately realizing the end goal is about giving more, right? I don't know if you can relate to this, Connie, but I played the having more game for a long time, and it did not work for me. It was not. I finally had reached what I thought I was meant to have, and it was the least fulfilling thing I've ever experienced in my life. The moment I started actually giving and contributing is when I felt most alive. So those are really the 3 pillars that we stand firmly behind: of be more, do more, and give more.
I love it. And going back what you just said, I mean, I've been there. I mean, I reached that pinnacle, and yet say to myself, something is missing. What is wrong? Because it was like work, and you gotta, earn and make the income, which we all need to do. I mean, and it tells you that in the Bible, if you want to help more, it's okay. You gotta make more. But it was still the point where it was like, okay, something is really, really missing here. And I have my programs. We have our total leadership master class, again, Up or Out. But it wasn't until I realized that I really needed to start really giving back in the sense that I was giving of myself. I was giving of my all and not just writing a check. And it really made a difference. And then we, not even a year ago, launched our Women Who Dare Council, and that's what that's all about. And it's just made a world of difference. And you know what? My Up or Out, the Fife Group business, is doing much, much greater even today that I'm giving more back.
Absolutely. And congratulations on everything you're doing. We've seen this consistently. Our community now is 50, 60,000 people strong. And the interwoven thread among every individual in our community is people who have raised their hands and said that I want to make a difference.
Yes.
And they come in at different levels. Some people are looking to transition out of a corporate career that they may not feel has been fulfilling for them. Other people are completely aligned and on purpose and running these thriving businesses that are looking for ways to contribute and give more. So we have this full spectrum, and really we've just been able to create this incredible community that continues to grow, that continues to be very purpose-driven and heart-focused and impact-minded. And we just provide them with the resources and the opportunities to give, right? We've been building homes in Mexico for 6 years now. We do those every 3 months. We open our first school in Nicaragua, and now we're rolling out exciting programs like a mastermind that we're doing to, again, help people on this journey of be more, do more, give more.
Love that. Love that. So what is the goal of the foundation itself? And I know, you started the school in Nicaragua and you go to Mexico, and I know you've helped after the hurricanes as well and really giving back. So is that the premise? Is that the mission of the foundation?
So the mission is to create a better world by ensuring basic human needs and quality education for all. So Connie, I'm not sure if you're familiar with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, but in 2012, the UN got together and said they came up with these 17 goals. They wanted to put everything into buckets. And we looked at all those goals and said, okay, how can we address by boiling it down as succinctly as possible, making it something very tangible for our community and our donors to understand.
Right.
And we focus on what we call lighting the fuse, and that's FEWSE. And again, this is basic human needs and quality education. So we have food, energy, water, shelter, and education. And what we realized is as we were able to focus on those 5, the other, all 17 were positively impacted. And coming back to my, psychology degree, one of the first things you learn about when you study psychology is Abraham Maslow. He talks about the hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
And I don't know if you remember, but at the very top of the hierarchy of needs is the need for self-actualization.
Yes.
Now, before we can even self-actualize, before we consider it, we need to have our basic needs met. So our goal is to ensure that everyone in the world has their basic needs met and has access to quality education.
I just love it. I get goosebumps from that. I talk about service before sales all the time. I have 5 books. I think I talk about that in every book. That it's always service before sales. It just makes such a difference. And I love how you're really looking at fulfilling those basic needs of individuals again around the world. And it's so needed. It is here in the U.S. And everywhere. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you, Connie. Well, what I love about this model that we have is through this community that we have of what we call world changers, right? These either budding entrepreneurs or people who are at very different steps and phases in their journey. We're giving them the tools, right? Like the mastermind group, like the programs we offer, like the content, and as they give more, it rolls over and allows other people to be more, do more, give more. So it's a cyclical journey, and that's what's beautiful about it. It actually becomes sustainable because as people be more, do more, give more, then that giving more overflows into someone who doesn't have their basic needs met, and they get to receive the benefits of that contribution.
Love it, love it. So I have a couple questions for you. So finish the sentence for me. I am a leader because.
I am a leader because I empower other leaders. one thing that I'm incredibly, and I would say arguably most proud of at the Greatness Foundation is it is not the Mike show.
Mm-hmm.
And you know Kurt, and it's not the Kurt
Yeah.
show, and we have our
Right.
incredible impact director Jenny, and it's not the Jenny show.
Right.
It is the Greatness Foundation community, and so we play a support role. Everyone that comes in, whether they're part of our core team, executive
Mm-hmm.
team, board members, or larger community, everyone, our goal is to empower them with the tools to become their own leaders. And that's what I'm most proud of.
That's beautiful. My favorite success quote is?
My favorite success quote. This may or may not be considered a success quote, but it's just one of my favorites in general. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, what you do speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you say. And for me, I'm just a man of action. I love making it happen. And so for me, it's always, let's get going, let's figure it, and then figure it out along the way.
Love it. Love it. My process for evaluating opportunities is?
My process for evaluating opportunities, meditation and yoga is an integral part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine similar to you, there are opportunities that come in all the time, and discernment is so important, more than ever. So for me, it's absolutely through meditation, mindfulness, true presence, where I can actually feel intuitively and evaluate what would be the best use of my personal as well as our organization's time and resources.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it would just get overwhelming.
And it can get overwhelming. And I get opportunities all the time. And like you said, it's really, sitting with it and evaluating it and, discerning what is best for me, for the organization. So thank you for that. So what is the moment, that event in your life that had the greatest impact on you?
Hands down, my son, Holden, being born. And it's just been incredible to watch him grow up. And he's joined us on all of our impact projects. He's been coming to Mexico and building these homes with us for 6 years. He's 12 years old now.
Okay.
And I really see it as a reminder, not just for me selfishly because he's my son, but in terms of what he represents as the future generation. If everyone can have that kind of upbringing and mindset where they're thinking about compassion and connection and contribution first, I think we would live in a much better world.
And I'm going to add to that, if I can. Your son seeing the work that you are doing is so powerful. And I know this from experience because my children are a bit older. They're both in their early 30s. And just this past Christmas, just a month ago, they gave me a gift. They gave me a gold bracelet, which she said she would, and she did. And then they gave me a book on Maya Angelou and a few other things. And so I had to ask them why, why this type of gift. I mean, I cried. And they said, Mom, there is no other gift that we, Michael and I, it's my son. And my daughter said, she goes, Michael and I talked and said, this is what we're getting, Mom. And she said, there was no question about it. She said, because we see the work that you are doing. She said, you don't have to tell us. She said, we see it, and you've done this your entire life. And we just wanted to thank you for everything that you're doing. So that is something that your son is seeing as well. He's seeing the impact that you are making and making a difference in the world.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So what do you believe is the world's greatest wound?
That's a great question. The greatest wound, my personal belief is a lack of self-love and self-worth for me is what it comes down to. I truly believe if people took the time to do the inner work and really focus and think about what it is they're here to do, what makes them come alive, what their purpose is in the world, and approached life from this place of love and wanting to just create something amazing with this miracle of a life that we have, we wouldn't have people in jobs that they hated and in relationships that they weren't thriving and growing in, and in environments where, they're hurting themselves and others. So that's why we start with be more people want to go out and change the world. And we're saying, hang on, let's start with you. Right. Truly changing the world starts from within. And so if we can work on ourselves in the way that we need to most, I think we can actually go out and impact the world in the way that we want to.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And just powerful words. Powerful. So you yourself, Will you ever be satisfied?
It's another great question. I feel very blessed because I feel like I'm constantly pegging out my gratitude meter.
Ooh.
And I wake up, I'm so grateful. And I do these thankful Thursdays where I talk with my friends that I'm grateful for. And I tell people in my life all the time. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly in this state of being very satisfied and grateful for the moment right in front of me. And at the same time, excited and pushing myself towards the next opportunity and the next phase and level of growth. So I don't want, satisfied to become synonymous with complacent, because
Right.
that's not the case at all.
Mm-hmm.
I'm incredibly in love with my life and the impact that we're getting to create now.
Right.
And I'm also not just going to sit here and say, okay, that's it. Let's hang up the jersey. No,
Mm-hmm.
we're always pushing to that next limit.
Mm. So that leads me to my next question, which is, what's next for you?
Well, we have some objective goals.
Mm-hmm.
We are looking to raise $10 million for our Greatness Fund,
Okay.
and then $100 million for we have a blockchain fund and accelerator, which is kind of another thing that directly benefits all the work that we do at the Greatness
Right.
Foundation. So
Mm-hmm.
from an objective standpoint, that's what we do. Subjectively, it would be to make sure that um, everyone in our core team, everyone that's part
Mm-hmm.
of our community, feels like they are getting to live in a meaningful way, right? Subjectively,
Okay.
I love waking up every day and going to bed every day knowing that I get to lay my head down knowing I've done what I can with that day. Again, that
Yes.
miracle and that blessing of a
Mm-hmm.
day that I received. And I would love for everyone on our team and our community and surrounding to have that feeling every single day.
Love that. Love that. So, do you have any closing remarks? I mean, because that's basically all the time we have for today. And I
Oh
love
man.
chatting. I know we could keep going.
Oh,
We could
I
just.
feel like we were just getting started.
I know. Well, what else do you want to talk about? Um,
Well, I will say this, and it's kind of what you ended with when you were saying the introduction is, I
mhm,
truly believe greatness isn't what we have; it's what we give. And
mm,
people, ask all the time, well, what's my definition of greatness? And
right.
I think that's what it is. I think that if someone's listening or watching and they felt that feeling where they climbed a mountain and metaphorically got to the top
Yeah.
and felt like, oh, this is everything I wanted, and then you realize, wait a second, it's kind of not what I thought it would be, or it doesn't
Right.
feel what I thought I would feel when I got there. My challenge, my invitation would be to begin to weave
Mhm.
contribution and giving into your life. And as you do, in whatever way that looks like, for some
Yeah.
people, it's writing a check. For some
Right.
people, it's showing up and doing a house build project, right?
Right.
But as you do, notice how there's this sustainable and lasting feeling of joy and contentment and
Yes.
peace.
Yes. And our life changes. Something I did 20 years ago, today I would look at it differently. And again, 20 years ago, I was chasing the career and, wanted to be the best that I can be and had to get to the top. And I did that. I mean, I became a CEO of a national organization, and they left me because of realignment and economies of scale. I mean, and I was sad. I was devastated. I mean, it was a job. It was a role where I was also giving back as well to young girls because it was Girl Scouts. And so when they left me, I was so devastated. And then the last 12 years, I focused. And again, that push. I got to do good, and we got to build this business, and and everything that we've done. So, and again, so that was 10 years ago, and then about 2 years ago, I had to take a step back again and say, you know what? We could do more. We could do more in terms of giving back. We could do more in terms of helping other people. And it's funny that, and you talk about creating a better world. We use that in our mission as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we do. And it's enabling leaders to have that courage, have that confidence, have that voice. And a lot of that stems from our Women Who Dare Council as well. Basically, and it's to create a better world where we all can be unstoppable together. So we use that in our mission as well. And that was the one thing I picked up with you at that, because that philosophy of it and that psychology of it. Maslow's law. I mean, I've studied all of that myself, and I did it 20 years ago, but you know what? It makes more sense to me now and what I'm
Absolutely.
doing. And
Well, Connie, what I'm hearing you say is actually we have a podcast as well, and with all of our guests, we talk about the hero's journey, right? I love Joseph Campbell's famous narrative and of the hero's journey, and it's cyclical and it happens, right? And it sounds like you went through the hero's journey 10 years ago, and you went through it again 2 years ago, and we're always iterating. And if we're not, it's this, if we're not evolving, we're dying. So it's constantly of what's the next phase? What's the next, where's the next opportunity for growth? So I love hearing that in your story.
Yeah. So when I ask someone if they're ever going to be satisfied, I mean, yeah, I am totally satisfied. I mean, you're totally satisfied with your life, but we're also stretching ourselves. And and you just said it, if we're not learning, we're dying. If we're not giving, I mean, basically we're dying. So that's all part of that life. That's all part of that hero's journey. And that's exactly what what I've been through as well many times. And I want to keep going, and I want to do as much as I can to help other people. And that's what I hear with the Greatness Foundation. That's exactly what you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Connie.
So how can our listeners learn more about you, about the Greatness Foundation? So if you could share that information, that'd be great.
Yeah, so you can just go to greatness, greatness.ngo, or if you Google the Greatness Foundation, and then right on our homepage, we show them start your journey, and they can download a greatness guide. We actually theme everything through the hero's journey by Joseph Campbell. So they get to, the moment that they come onto the website, they get to become this hero on a journey, and we get to kind of be their guide through this process.
Great. That's fabulous. I love it. Well, I want to thank you, Mike, for being here. You've been a phenomenal guest.
Oh, Connie, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Ladies all around the world, listen up. We're looking for you. The time has come to be unstoppable together. The danger of executive women is worrying we're not enough, obsessed with perfection, failing to perform. You're in the right place. It's now time to be unstoppable together with Connie Fife. She was the director of the United States Chamber of Commerce and CEO of the Girl Scouts. Sit down, squat down, or lie down. It's time for Up or Out, all business with Connie Fife, your unstoppable diva and chair of the Fife Group, helping women in leadership achieve excellence and be unstoppable together.